see a lot of branch Western monastery in Ajahn Chah tradition across the world. For example, Amaravati in the UK, Dhammapala in Switzerland, Santa Chittaram in Italy, and many other monasteries. And these monasteries have the Western students of Ajahn Chah as the abbot in charge of the monastery. This monastery gained a lot of attention of multicultural followers, such as European, Thai, American, Europeans, Sri Lankan as well. And Western monastics in these monasteries, they use the traditional methods spreading the Dharma, and they also use new technologies like podcast, website, Facebook page to spread the Dharma. And they adapt differently to the needs of the new context. And lay people in Thailand also go to this Western monastery a lot. Like lay people, Thai lay people who live in the West also go to give the material requisites or the funds for the monastery. And therefore, the Western abbots can highly appreciate the kindness of Thai Buddhists. And these Western monasteries have a very good connection with Thai monks in Wat Nong Pa Phong. Twice a year, Western senior monks visit Wat Nong Pa Phong in the commemoration of Ajahn Chah, and a lot of senior monks in Wat Nong Pa Phong also visit these Western monasteries. And look at this from this perspective. The Western monasteries in Ajahn Chah tradition has been well adapted to the new context, and in the meantime, they also keep a very good connection with Thai people. However, now I will introduce you to another group of people. Their disagreement arisen from the Western junior monastics. These junior or the younger generation of monks usually ordained by Ajahn Sumedho and have almost no connection with Thai culture. And the Western junior monastic, I would call them the second group, mainly disagree with the Western abbots. Why they disagree? Which aspect? They disagree with the supreme authority in decision making. Because normally in Thailand, the abbots are the master and are in charge of the monastery, and usually people will follow the decision of the abbot whether they like it or not. And this is seen as a part of the mind training program, like Ajahn Chah did to Ajahn Sumedho. Ajahn Sumedho usually reflect on this. Sometimes he said, in the initial state, he didn't know Thai language that much, and Ajahn Chah even speak Laos, even speak Isan dialects. And sometimes he say, you started to give the Dharma talk in Isan. Can I go back to my kuti in the hut and meditate alone? And Ajahn Chah, no, you have to stay here. Be patient. So this is seen as a part of letting go of one preference. And Ajahn Sumedho finally take it as the meditation practice. So he had no problem with that. He felt a lot of compassion from Ajahn Chah. But these Western junior monastics now, they are quite different. They stay with the Western abbots together, but they grew up in the environment that encouraged the consultation in the community. They want to vote, in in our generation, we have to vote. We disagree with this and that, we have to rebel. So these monks want to participate in the process of decision making. And they claim that Western senior abbots usually have private meetings or decide things that affect their life without consulting them. And they also claim that they want to be able to criticize the seniors without suppress the feelings. And it is very similar to the Western psychology that many of them have studied and accepted. They claim that when they criticize people who are senior, like superior to them, this behavior has been interpreted as the disrespectful behavior. And I quite understand that. They say some Western and Thai senior monks say this is disrespectful. In Thai culture, we have the different ranks of people, and you relate to them differently. And we have this kind of hierarchical structure, like parents are superior to the children, the king is superior to the lay people, the monks are superior to the lay people, and more or less, sometimes in some rural contexts, the males are superior to the females. And we are taught that if we relate to the people who are superiors to us, we can't really criticize them. We can think about it, but cannot say that much. So I quite understand why this behavior has been interpreted like that. One of my informants expressed their disagreement that Buddhist organization, as we find it in the Vinaya or the monastic code, is Dhammocracy. It sounds like democracy, but it's not democracy, it's Dhammocracy. And in the context, he means the system that is governed by the Dhamma, not the particular group of people. And he continues saying, Western abbots hold on to the Thai hierarchical system, which is not in line with the Vinaya. The abbots don't study the Pali text analytically. So in this situation, the second group believe that the Thai culture authorize the centralized power of the abbots, and they select some part of the Pali text, like Kopaka Mokkallana Sutra, or they select other documents as well. Even the Kalama Sutra has been selected, and they read some parts of the Tipitaka and interpret, conclude that the original Buddhism is democracy, which they expect that will be less hierarchical and they will have more spaces to express themselves. When I did the research, I didn't pay much attention to the details, but I focused on the structure. And the structure is they use the texts to negotiate with the power of the seniors. And they separate the original Buddhism from the Thai tradition. I agree with them, only some parts, that Thai culture can keep maintaining the hierarchy in the Western monasteries. But also you can argue to what extent the hierarchy comes from Thai tradition, because you can argue no religion is practiced in its pure form. It's always a matter of time and place. And their conclusions of the original Buddhism based on the Tipitaka might not be absolute either. So the question is, who is using the text for which purpose? And in this situation, they use the text to decentralize the power of the seniors. But I don't think that the abbots will simply decentralize the power just according to the interpretation of the original Buddhism. And I have updated information a bit before I come here. Some of the senior abbots retire from being abbot already because this is based on my research 8 years ago. So the dynamic has changed. And because these Western abbots ordained for more than 40 years ago, so right now they're quite old. And these Western junior monks become the Thera themselves. So they have the different perspective. So they can see how things in the monastery operate on the higher level, which now they are in the higher level. And I have discovered something subtleties behind the reaction of the second group here. And I think it's interesting to share. Usually when these lower rank monks interpret the original Buddhism, they say a lot about equality or humanistic approach or rationalistic approach. This is because based on my interview with them, many of them was disappointed with the context before, with the centralized power in their home country before. For example, they disappointed with the power of Christian institution in their countries. They disagree with the communism in their country. They disagree with the government that sent people to die in the war. And therefore, when they read about Buddhism, especially the Theravada, they can mix some expectation to conclude that Theravada should be better than where they come from. Like they may find something better outside of their context. So it is very understandable that when they ordain in the Western monastery and they encounter authority or the Thai politics in the Western monastery, they can feel very uncomfortable. I can relate to that as well. When we were young, we can disagree with many authority higher than us, like this teacher in the school, like ฝ่ายปกครอง or our parents order us to do this and not to do that, or the boss in the institutions. But if we get old, we can have the higher rank and we can encounter younger people who rebel against us as well. So I think it's kind of unavoidable situation. Except you are the traveler or the guest outside of the system, you can escape from that hierarchical or authority like that. But in my perspective, if you live in some system, you always meet the authority over you. Okay, come back to the character of these monks. This monk decided to ordain And they need a strong or rebellious character in order to do so, because normally the mainstream is the Christianity, or Catholic, Protestant, or atheism even. When they decide to ordain, they are quite anomalous, like alienated, different from the mainstream culture. I used to talk with some female monastic, and one of them said, "Oh, you know, when I ordained, my mother said, 'Oh, I will be pleased if you are a prostitute than wanting to be the bhikkhuni.'" Something like that, because you know, it's kind of the decision that the mainstream maybe disagree to you, so you need to have some rebellious or strong character. And when people who have the rebellious character have to stay under the control of other people, they can feel uncomfortable. It's very understandable. And last thing, these people, the second group of people, use the textual interpretation a lot in the negotiation, because the Pali text can be regarded as a source of authority. In conclusion, their disagreement of the authority of the Western abbots in the monasteries linked to the Thai forest tradition of Ajahn Chah, and